Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I'm your host, Daniel Dolphin.
Our guests today are Miss Kris and Mr. Brent Graef. They are from the Panhandle area of Texas. If you're in the horsemanship world, you no doubt know who Brent Graef is. And I'm very pleased to be talking with them today. So how are y'all doing?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're doing real good. Thanks.
Well, very good. It's been a nice little catching up in the wintertime. The daylight hours get short and we have to do the things that we'd rather not do, sit behind a desk and take care of all of the rat killing and all. And I appreciate you doing a little of that with me today. So
yeah, you bet. It's our pleasure here.
Well, we start everybody off with our lightning round questions. My computer's not cooperating with me right now, so I'm going to give you just a few from memory and then we'll move on. So the first question is, if you were a Jedi, what % chance would there be that you would misuse the Force?
I think I would not misuse the Force at all.
Okay.
So it'd be 0%.
Morning or evening? What's your preferred time of day?
Morning for me.
Evening for me. He's up at 4:30 in the morning, starting to work and do chores. Not me, not so much.
My wife and I are on kind of different schedules like that. Well, creamy or smooth peanut butter?
Yes.
Creamy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you back a trailer?
I'd say probably a 9 or so. I would hope anyway. So far, so good with that.
Do you have a favorite piece of tack or horse-related tool?
Well, riding wise, I like the hackamore. That's my favorite piece to ride in. It was when I was doing a lot of braiding. It was also my favorite piece to braid as well. So I think they're pretty and they're very functional. Get a lot of finesse out of them if you do it right. So yeah, that would be my favorite. On the ground, the lead rope, I guess, is my favorite because that's your direct connection to the colt or the horse that you're working on the ground.
Okay. And I know these days you do a lot of halter breaking colts, so we'll get into talking about that. I'm sure you spend most of your day with that lead rope in your hand, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Let me think of another one here. Do you have a favorite dinosaur or deep sea creature?
Well, I've never met a dinosaur, but I remember when I was a kid, I liked the Triceratops.
Okay. That's my favorite.
Is it? Well,
Yes.
That's probably why I liked it then, is because it's your favorite.
I like it. It just looks like you could ride him and he's a little tank. He'd just plow everything down, right? He'd be kind of fun, huh? Dogs or cats? And I know y'all have a new puppy in the room with you right there, so we'll take bets on how this goes. But
well, the answer to that's going to be yes. Because
okay.
we love all our pets. We love dogs. We've got 5 cats too. One of our cats, well, they were all feral. Kris is the cat tamer, and one of our cats, I swear, is a dog in the cat's body. Mm-hmm. He likes to ride in the mule. He rides in the pickup. If I'm pushing a wheelbarrow full of hay, he'll be sitting up on the wheelbarrow, riding out there with me. He'll go out to the working pens with us every morning. He'll take a couple of bites of cat food and then hustle out there to get to work with us. So yes, both.
All right. And then, so dog breed, do you have a preference there? Are you a working dog kind of guy or what?
I like dogs, any kind. Our new puppy is a Springer Spaniel, and I'd had some Springers before and liked them real well. Our last one was a blackmouth cur. One before that, Sally, was a lab.
Yeah.
So you've had
Yeah, I've had mostly retrievers, golden retrievers.
Yeah.
Big difference between a golden retriever and a blackmouth cur.
And the Springer Spaniel. So the saying in the dog world, I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but that labs are born half trained and spaniels die half trained. That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
But she's coming along, so she'll get us to figure stuff out before long. She's teaching us.
Yeah.
I feel obligated to ask about this too, because I saw a couple of videos on it. I haven't seen one since, but you had either a crow or a raven in the barn there. So is they still around, or is he flown off?
Well, he didn't make it.
Oh,
So
well,
what it was, we had 2 ravens nested in the barn. We called them Heckle and Jekyll. And anyway, they had 3 babies. So we had Freckle and Speckle and Sheckle to go along with the Heckle and Jekyll thing. Well, Sheckle fell out of the nest and died. And then Speckle fell out a couple of times, but we had put up, we've got in the indoor there, we've got panels, and then we've got the metal wall. And so we pulled the panels a little further out and took an old blanket and just made a safety net for him. So we didn't know if he was getting pushed out or just fell out or what. But anyway, so he'd catch himself in that little blanket. We'd put him back up there, and then
Almost daily.
yeah. And then anyway, he started getting bigger and trying to fly. Couldn't quite make it. And so we tried to help him along, and would Heckle and Jekyll, as soon as Freckle started flying, they left. So they abandoned him. And so, we'd feed him and, try to help him along. And he was just about to make it, and he got caught up in a nasty windstorm. And I figured that he caught more air than he had ever caught before, and then was trying to walk back to the shelter and probably got too much dust in his lungs and died from that. But that broke my heart there. He was.
Well, I'm sorry I brought it up. I was hoping we were going to have a neater story rather than the black cloud over the episode. But anyway.
That happens sometimes. Death's part of life. But he was a cool bird, and he had a cool sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
He was funny. I'd come around the corner of the covered arena, and I'd say, "Hey, Speckle," and he'd go squawk, and then he'd hide from me. And then squawk at me, and he'd run over to another spot. He'd be hiding behind the panels or something. And yeah, he was pretty funny. And just recently, Heckle and Jekyll have come back in. It looks like they're looking to roost there again this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together. So
okay. Well, I hope they learned a little from last year and do a better job this time.
Yeah.
We'll have to build a better platform for them to put a nest on. They nested right over our overhead door, so we couldn't lift the door up all summer long. We couldn't get any breeze in there because it would have destroyed the nest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they're cool birds.
Yep. They're known for being inconsiderate like that, so that makes total sense. Are y'all far enough west to have magpies and things in your area, or?
No, we don't have magpies.
And then I guess I'll just ask, so are Heckle and Jekyll and the Get and all, are they ravens or are they crows?
Ravens.
Ravens. Okay.
Yeah, they're ravens.
Very cool. We have a lot of crows in this area, and I mean thousands upon thousands. I don't know where they roost, but in Lafayette, every evening you just, in the morning you see them coming. And I have always wanted to play with them, but like you say about that sense of humor, if you make a few thousand crows mad, that's not going to end well for you. So I'm a little timid to dip my toe in the water there. But
I bet.
One day we'll see. If we had 2 or 3, that'd be different. But way too many to play with.
We had another cool bird that lived with us for a little while. Mockingbird wintered with us 2 winters, and they usually don't winter here. And she would be up there just singing her routine songs, just almost at a whisper. Mm-hmm. And then come spring, she was standing out on the gutter just belting it out. And it was pretty cool. I had a particular whistle that I would give right before I'd give her some feed, or every time I'd see her, I'd do that. She added that to her repertoire. That was pretty cool.
And he has a
Yep.
certain whistle that he does when he calls the horses in off the pasture. She learned that whistle, and she had our horses running helter-skelter all over the place because they thought it was time to come in off the pasture.
10 in the morning, Brent's feeding us this day. That's wonderful. What a good guy he is.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to be respectful of y'all's time, so we'll just bypass the rest of the lightning round since I don't have it pulled up anyway. And the first question I usually ask everybody is, would you give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of what it is that you do in the horse business?
We've kind of got two areas that we spend a lot of time in. So one area, we do a handful of horsemanship clinics. So 2.5 months out of the year, I'll be driving out. I make a big circle from Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Illinois, then back to Texas. And that'll cover middle of August to the middle of October.
And he flies out to Oregon, Washington, a few places.
I've got 3 fly out clinics out there that I do. And anyway, when I drive, I bring my own horses. Whenever I fly out, my host will set me up with a horse. So it works out pretty good. And then the rest of the year, like right now, it's halter starting season. So that starts the day after I get back home from the clinic rounds. The first set of colts comes in. And then we'll be going till the end of May with that, which is about whenever we start to fly out. So anyway, so it's halter starting season. We've done, after this set of colts that I've got right now in, from the middle of October till now will be 95 head that we've halter started. And then by the end of May, it'll be 300 head.
And we've got the horse classes where people come in, they spend a week with us and learn, how he does his halter starting stuff.
Yeah.
So would you say, like when I was initially introduced to you, it's been years ago, but it was a video on how to set up a hackamore and how to tie the Makati in and everything. I thought it was a real good video, and it was, some people overcomplicate it. You just kind of gave here's what you need to know, and here's how to do it, and here's how to measure it, and simple, short, sweet, easy. And I appreciated that. So would you say that this has been a transition for you, or are you kind of now doing more of the halter starting, whereas before you were not you were riding older horses or something, or have you always?
When I first started, we grew up on a little ranch, and so I was riding before I could walk, and always loved horses, and figured I'd go back to the family ranch and work that forever. But time I got out of college, I realized that little place is only so big, and it'll only support so many people, and they are all already there. So I got to find a way to pay some bills.
Either that or get rid of a family member.
Hey, there's a thought. Dang, you should have thought of that earlier. No, none of them I'd want to get rid of. So, but anyway, so I started colts I started my first colt in the 6th grade, and I'm sure that Grandpap put a couple rides on him because he was just too easy, but gave me a lot of confidence. And so I started a handful of them, along the way. But then I thought, well, that's one thing I do know how to do. And so I started colts for about 20 years under saddle. And a lot of those I'd halter started and then ride them. They'd come in not halter started, and I preferred that. So there wasn't much to undo. But anyway, then ran into a couple of kind of dangerous horses and got by, but I thought, well, I'm a little out of my league here. I better start really studying, because I'd gotten by on being athletic. And I thought, I had kind of had a knack, but it's like, I better really study. And so I'd go watch people, what to do, what to not do. I'd learn. And anyway, started trying to hone my skills more. And the few colts that I had a lot of trouble with, I look back on them and I think, oh, that'd be so easy now. No one would have. But I ride those horses in my mind a lot. And I think that's helped me a whole lot in the clinic settings, because I've seen a lot of horses. I don't know how many horses I've started. I never really counted, but it was a bunch. And so I've seen a lot of different types of horses and, easy ones, hard ones, troubled ones, scared ones. And anyway, so that helps me to be able to present what I'm trying to present to any of the horses that we run across in the clinics. And working with, some of the horses from the ranches, I started halter starting more. And then word of mouth has been my best friend. And this year we've had to turn some horses away, which is really hard for me to do, but I don't have enough days to squeeze them all in. So that's nice. But, the halter starting is some people might call it a special niche, but it's most cowboys' least favorite job because you got to be on the ground and it takes time, and they'd rather be in the saddle and roping something or, working the cows rather than working this little baby and trying to take your time and help him figure his way out. So, but the way we look at those, go ahead, you were going to ask something?
I was just going to say, like, how many babies do you take at a time? You have 5 or 20, or how does your day work out with a group of newbies to the halter start?
Right. Usually we've got 10 to 15 at a time.
And they'll be here for about a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming it's not one session per foal because they don't have a real long attention span and all. So are you kind of working on multiple today in groups or something, or how are you going about that?
Well, today was the first catch day. So, we caught the horses, let them out, brought them back, turned them loose. But tomorrow it'll go a whole lot faster because they've been handled once. So I'll take however long it takes on the first catch. I don't care how long it takes. It might take a few minutes, might take a couple of hours, doesn't matter. But tomorrow the catches will take just a couple of minutes, and then we'll lead them out, see what they remembered, and then we'll start getting the touches and start adding more stuff in. But we'll do, several sessions with each colt during the day.
And the way our working area is set up, we've got a whole bunch of round pens. We've got a bunch of smaller round pens, maybe 25 feet-ish.
Yeah.
And so if you put one horse per pen, you can be really efficient. You go and spend a little bit of time getting a little bit done with this one, go to the next one, go to the next one, go back to the one that maybe you need a little more time, and just keep jumping between pens. So you can be really efficient and work every single horse multiple times, short sessions, and get a lot of progress that way.
Yeah, we work them till we get a change in the positive. And then, you feel a good change. Then you turn that one loose on a soft note and then go to the next one. If you're having a hard time getting a positive change, and they're scared at first. These guys, most of them hadn't been touched. And I prefer that horse. They're pure. But if they're really worried and nervous, then we'll get on a saddle horse, bring him into the pen, either ride him in or we'll turn him in with us. I'll have a halter and just have him come in and it just calms the baby. Then you can work your way into it. And for the touches, we might have me on the horse and I'll be holding him and kind of hide Kris from him. And I'll get my horse to kind of nuzzle him at the withers. And then Kris will come in right where he's touching them and she'll scratch and then pet. And then we'll give him a little peekaboo. Just pull the horse's head back and then put it back before the baby realizes what just happened. And it's like, wait. And then we'll let him see her as she runs her hand all the way down his hip and leaves. And he's like, wait, where are you going? That felt good. And that's how we can get a lot of our first touches, and especially on the ones that are really more nervous or more wired. So, but we try to help comfort them with the saddle horse rather than just trying to figure out a way to overpower them. And by gosh, I'm going to get that touch. It's like, no, come on in here, duck. Help me out a little bit. So
yeah, people wind up flipping them over and all kinds of things, and yeah, that's not the way to go about it. I'm really glad you were talking about petting them at the withers. I don't think that gets talked about enough, how that's where horses pet horses, right? So everybody seems to want to go at their head. And I'm
Sure.
like, yeah, just back up a couple feet from that head and, it'll all go a whole lot better for them. I really like how you're using the saddle horse and letting them kind of borrow some confidence there and give them some security and introduce that. I don't think when they're just ricocheting off the panels, that's a real good way to go about it, So
Not very productive, and you sure don't want to get somebody's horse hurt. And that can happen. It does happen. We had one lady that we'd started halter starting her colts, and she said, "Well, I'm going to come check on you, make sure they're okay." I'm like, "Sure, come on." And so she came, 2 days after we'd had them, and she pulled up and stepped out of the truck, and she goes, "Okay, so they're all here." I said, "Yes, ma'am, they're all here." She goes, "Ain't none of them crippled?" I said, "No, ma'am, ain't none of them crippled." She goes, "Well, that's good." She expected to lose 2 or 3 every year in the halter starting process, either to die or be crippled. And I thought, wow, what in the world is your hard hand doing to cause that? But I've got an idea. But, I look back on some of the things I used to do and don't think very much of it either. But it was the best I knew at the time. Hopefully, we're all growing, and our deal is constantly evolving too. We're trying to make it better. We can figure out how to make every step of this halter starting process to be as least scary to this colt as we can. It's a tense time for them. I can't imagine from their point of view what it's like when we have our classes in. I try to explain to them, these horses didn't come out of somebody's backyard. Most of the ranches are 80,000 acres plus, and they may have seen a person once a month or so as they come out to check on the mares and the babies. They don't see them every day. And, it's scary. It's traumatic to them. So whenever they're weaned off their mamas, they get put in a smaller pen with some babysitter horses, and then the mamas are taken away. And then when they come to our place, they're loaded onto a trailer, which is the last place that horse would probably want to go. And then they're taken to our place and put in the smallest pen they've ever been in, away from everything that they know. What do you suppose is going through their mind? Is this where we die? There's nothing familiar here. So it's scary to them. So the least stress that we can put on them, the better. Can I help them gain confidence in us, gain their trust? Then, man, they fly so fast. But if I try to manhandle them and dominate them, forget that. They're not going to trust you then. You're going to have a fight every time you go to them for a long time. Some of them maybe always. And most of that stuff's man-caused. Can I go with them first, and then maybe they'll come with me? I'm not trying to, I guess how's the best way to put that? I guess most philosophy-wise, most people when they're halter starting, it's get them caught, okay, then pet them, and then lead them. And most of this pull and release, pressure release. And every time that you take that slack out and hold and wait, you're putting a little bit of drag in there. And you got to then work to get that drag out of there. And if you don't, that's going to transfer directly to your ride. Every time you reach down the rein, they're going to just go rip, brace the jaw, pull away. And, I've learned that the hard way. It's hard to overcome that. But, that's the way most folks will do it. Our philosophy is go with them first. So I'll catch them before I touch them. And if you watched our first catch video that we put out, what date was that?
Well, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, then you see the different tools that we use to where we can catch them from about 6 foot away. So that where a horse learns to pull away from the halter, hold your hands out like you're the horse, Kris.
They can't see on the.
It'd be right about here as you get ready to try to take that tag end and tie it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some tools set up to where we can reach out there from a lot further away. We've got a longer, like the shafts we use on our flags. We've got one that's longer and a little string, and we tuck that into the tag end of the halter, and then we just fish that around their neck and then start working to feed it up. And then we've got a little stick that has a kind of a finger notch in it where I can take a hold of the noseband and lift it up over their nose and then lift it up into tying the halter. And I know, we'll go ahead and pull that halter out. I know that a lot of people aren't going to see much of this, but this...
we can be sure we'll use this clip as part of it. So yes, sir, that's
okay.
fine.
So as Kris ties our halters, she gets creative with stuff. How can we make it easier to tie that halter? Well, I can do it without having to tie. Got those knots. Is that set up where you can see it okay?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Yep.
And that's a
And
game
I
changer.
guess the little tape on there just stiffens it where it you can't push a rope, right? But it gets a little stiffer where it's a little easier to handle and all.
Right. That's some grip shrink there, so it holds it pretty
Heat
stiff.
shrink. And then once they get to haltering more like big kids, when you put it under their neck, you can grab it without having to wrap your arms all the way around.
Yeah.
You can incrementally get them used to having the process of being caught like big kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
You got that string over there?
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and pull that up and we'll just show you what we mean by using the tag end of the halter. This is what we're calling the tag end of the halter.
Uh-huh.
We've got a knot on that string. String swat.
10 feet long.
10 feet long. And then a 7-foot pole. You can reach them from anywhere in the catch pen. We've got like a 37-foot catch pen.
Yes, sir.
And it just makes it so much less stressful. But we try to draw them to our tools before we catch them with it. We've got a lariat rope with a double knot tied in it so it wouldn't choke them down. And I'll put that on them first. But I'll take, the grabbers like old folks use in the park picking stuff up.
Yes, sir.
So there have been several times where I thought, well, if my arm was just a little bit longer, then I wouldn't even have to toss that loop on them. They could just walk, right? I could set it on them. And so Kris said, well, what if you took a grabber like the old folks use and use that? And I said, well, that's ridiculous. She goes, well, might work. And I thought,
it's only ridiculous if it doesn't work. Yep. I
thought, well, we'll try and see. And I don't really care how it looks as long as the horse thinks it's all right. And so I'll get them moving in the round pen. I'll just let them move. I know where they want to be. They're going to want to be where their friends are. So I'll start out being between them and their friends. And then if they look at me or come towards me at all, I'll get out of the way and let them head towards their friends. Then I'll step close to them and see how they move. Which direction do they like to move? How soft are they moving? How far away from them is enough to where that's going to direct the movement? How about the other way? Can I get them to come the other way? Which side is softer? Is there a side they prefer me on? And then I'll bring that grabber and the lariat rope out and I'll step in towards them and I'll have that out in front of them. And as they're moving towards it, I'll keep taking it away. So how far away is enough to keep them moving forward? Then if they look at the rope or look at me, everything goes away. Pretty soon they go to check out the rope and just stick their head in there and you just roll on from there.
I was at a clinic. Years ago, I was at a clinic and one of the students asked the clinician, what kind of loop do you like to throw on a first catch on a colt? They started talking about all these different loops. And the clinician said, it'd be really cool if you could like dance a loop out in front of them and get them to hook onto the loop and just walk into it on their own. But I don't know anybody who's that good of a roper. And I'm thinking, simple minds can make that work.
Yeah, I'm not that good a roper.
Not that good a roper.
With the grabber, I can do that. But I've already moved them without chasing them. I don't want to be chasing them and scaring them. But figuring out where is the kind of barrier that says I gotta move, and then keep them moving forward, and then find me forward, then find me. Then I'll step towards them and let them move a little bit, and I already know where they're wanting to turn because they've been turning there. So just as they get there, slacks in the rope, I'll just close my hand. They're going to turn there anyway. They go the other way, we'll just push the rope, go with them. And before long, I'll close my hand a little bit sooner or a little bit later. And then pretty soon, we're just going together. Then we'll put the halter on and move them kind of the same way. I'm not looking to pull on them. I'm looking to just flow with them a little bit. And then we'll bring Kris in, and she'll have a couple of flags with her. And I'll start being out in front of them. And her job's not to push them forward, but if they look off, to push the eye back, redirect their thoughts. And we send their thoughts back up there. And then we turn in the places where they liked to turn in the first place. Then we'll turn in different places in the pen. And then it's time to go out. And so we've got our setup, how many round pins do we have now in our working space? 40 round pins, different sizes. And so we'll leave the catch pin, go to a bigger pin, then back to smaller pins. And we've got a series of 7 smaller pins. We call them the snuggle pins. But each one of them's got 3 gates to it. But anyway, we'll go into that smaller pin, to a gate, then to the pin, then to the gate, then to the pin, then to the gate. Pretty soon they're just right there because they've got options. But then the gate narrows the options again, works like kind of training wheels on a bicycle. To redirect. And so the first leading, they'll go through over 50 gates. They should never barge through a gate. They should never balk at a gate ever, because it's just part of the next thing. And if everything's next, then it just rolls. Then we start going, we'll go through that series of snuggle pins a few times. The first time we just go, we'll find a gate and come on with me, find it, come on with me, however they get there. Then the next time, pretty quick, they'll line out and go straight. Then the next time I kind of send them in a half circle. So just as we go through the gate, I'll send them around the pin a little bit, then find me. Let's go into the next pin. And a lot of times people misunderstand what I'm trying to do with that. They're saying, you just got them to find you. Now you're saying, go away from me. I said, no, I'm not saying go away from me. I'm saying, find me over there. The first thing we want them to do when we've got the lead rope is find the slack. I want to help them find the slack. And part of my job is to make sure that slack stays there where it's going to feel good. How do you want your drape and your rein to be on your best going horse?
Loose.
And then just as you start to pick it up, that's when you want him to think about responding, right?
Yes, sir.
We might as well start that on the first catch and the first leading, instead of waiting till way down the road. So my job is to try to help him find that slack feels good. And I'm saying, I'm moving the slack, you go find it. And then those little pins help him find it. And then we'll start going through different pins and different spots. And before long, we're out in the arena going, and they're leading like off of a feather's weight and keeping that slack in. If they start to slow down, I'll slow down a little bit too, because I want to keep that slack in there. I want them to hunt for that. When the slack starts to come out, you put it back in. You put it back in. And I try to get...
I'm a very, very big believer that your lead rope is the first bridle rein. If
Absolutely.
you treat it that way, then everything will be a whole lot better. Way too many people that just don't pay any attention and jerk them around, and then they cause way more problems than they ever realize.
You put a lot of drag in there. You teach them to pull back when tied. You teach them to pull on the rein with you. I don't want them dull to the reins. I want them light to them. So we start out from the beginning. And once in a while, they'll hit the end of the rein. And I'll try to just hold instead of pulling. Or I'll go with them if I can. And before long, they're just right there. It doesn't take long at all. And it's so much fun watching them get it and go, oh, yeah, now let me show you what else I can do. And we're weaving through railroad ties and going over them and stuff just on the first or second leading. And they're just right there. But anyway, so the first catch is not about the first catch. It's about the next one. And the first leading is not about the first leading. It's about the first ride. So that groundwork needs to transfer to the ride, or else why am I doing it?
Yes, sir.
And so that's kind of our philosophy, and it sure seems to work pretty good. So
I would be willing to bet too, the way you're going through all those gates and sending them and all, I bet trailer loading is a complete non-event when they're ready to go home. Huh?
oh, trailer loading's nothing. So whenever we start, like Kris was saying, having several pins, side by side the colts, then we'll work one. Whenever we bring it back and we're done, the done pin is the trailer pin. So we've got the trailer backed up and we've got a berm. So the step is about 2 inches. And so the gate's tied open and we've got a panel tied to the trailer so that that's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got probably 20 foot of length of that pin. We put them in there and they can go wherever they want to. Put the next one in there, get the next one done, get the next one done. And then pretty soon they're all just walking on the trailer, walking off, walking on, walking off. And then we'll lead them out a few times. And then usually it's the third leading. We'll lead them out, bring them back, lead them on the trailer, let them turn around and come off. And then it's nothing. So if we can make everything a non-event, it's a whole lot easier on that colt. And then if it's easier for the colt, it's easier for the cowboy. And if it's easier for the cowboy, it's easier for the colt. And if it's easier for the colt, it's easier for everybody. So yeah, it's a lot of fun watching those colts grow up and figure things out real good. But in that week we've got them, we'll get them catching, like big kids. We'll get them leading up real light. We'll get them used to saddle pads. We've got Navajo pads. We've got bigger pads. We've got little pony saddle pads, and then we'll put a big one on there. And we've got a pad that has a cinch on it, so they'll have felt the cinch before the first saddling. And we'll rope their feet. And we'll rub them with a lariat rope first. Then when I rope their feet, I'll have them moving forward, let them step into the loop, and I'll hold the loop open, bring it right up into their flank, let them keep moving whenever they're calm. Let the rope slide down their leg, let it run up and down their leg, and then I'll just kind of pull out to the side rather than straight in front. And then as soon as they stop or lift the foot, I'll give it back to them, then give it back to them again, then let it go to the front, put it up behind the knee. As soon as the knee buckles, we're done with that. Do the other side, and we'll go do something else. And then before long, we're trimming them. So we get them trailer loading. If the owners want them backing off, we'll get them backing off. If they want them to turn around, we'll turn them around. So it's up to however they want them. That's how we'll do it. And we'll give them the beginnings of time. And we'll have that done in about 4 days, and everything else is just bonus. So we work them from a saddle horse, so they've already seen you up above them. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to get accomplished to get them used to the things that they're going to see in their life, and to help them be prepared for that, so it's not a great big scary deal on the ride. The more that we can prepare them, then the better horse they're going to be. So, and whenever the different ranchers, come and pick their colts up, we ask them about last year's set. How did they go? Was there anything you'd like us to do better or different? Is there anything more that we need? And so we keep asking for feedback and keep trying to improve. So there's one ranch that we run their colt start, and so that'll be coming up in January. It's the Singleton Ranches in New Mexico. And so we'll go out there and run their colt start. They handpick the cowboys that they want to do the rides, and we'll be there 6 days. We'll ride all those colts every day. There'll be usually between 30 and 39 colts that they'll have. And we'll ride them in groups of 5 or 6. And anyway, it goes pretty good. That's a whole lot of fun watching them colts grow up. On their colts, we take notes on them. And several of them are, as they're wanting our input on their breeding program and stuff, well, we'll take notes on the colts and give them our feedback, what we felt on the first week. And with theirs, it's easy. When they wean them, they sort them off the mares, run them into a chute, freeze brand their butts, and then turn them out. So you've got the mare's number on the left butt cheek, the year they're born underneath that, the right butt cheek is the stud's number. So you know how they're bred and how old they are just by looking at their butts. So it's easy to say, okay, this number, and now make our notes. So we'll make the notes at the first catch, middle of the week, end of the week. How did they come? Which ones were more touchy? Which ones have more performance potential? So they've got a performance line and a ranch horse line. And so we'll say this one's got a lot of performance potential. They do a lot of rein cow horse, a lot of ranch horse competitions, and some cutting as well. And so that ranch just had one place 5th in the cutting open futurity this year, which was pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
A few years ago, they had one take 4th in the rein cow horse open futurity. And then the next year she won all the derbies. And her mom, the same rider, won the open futurity on her mare, which was Smart Cracking Chick that the Singleton Ranch owns. So she throws some really nice babies. But anyway, we'll say this is what we're seeing. This one's a little extra touchy. Let's saddle him a couple of times before the colt start. This one's real nervous. This is who's going to ride this colt. So who's going to ride him? And one of the cowboys he's the bronc rider on the ranch rodeo team. He also does real well in the ranch horse competition as well. So say Tanner Hart's riding that colt. And if he starts to worry, if that colt does and starts pitching or scampering a little bit, Tanner will just be singing or laughing and just petting him. But he can ride a bucking horse real good, but he also rides finesse real good too. And he offers these babies finesse. So, but anyway, they've got several guys that are really, really good riders, can ride a horse, whatever type riding he's going to do. But we tell them at the first, if you cause that horse to buck, you're done for the week. You don't ride anymore. The art of colt starting is to keep them from bucking, not to see if you can ride the buck. This ain't bronc riding practice. And they're all on board and works great. So we've had several others ask us to run their colt start, but I just don't have the time. It's like, I don't have the time. Not going to do it. So anyway, but it's fun to watch those babies grow up and see where my original thoughts, how are they now? How close am I? Am I missing something? So, but it's a lot of them, they'll ask feedback on every colt, and we'll just walk through them as they're getting ready to load up and talk about each one. And it's a whole lot of fun.
That sounds pretty fun. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I bet the cowboys are kind of arm wrestling one another for a chance to get to join you for that whenever that comes around.
They like to do that. Yeah. And it works out real good. But we've had a lot of the ranches that say after we've halter started their colts, whenever they go to get on, they're already 30 days ahead whenever they start riding, because they already know what the reins are. They've already felt the cinch. We've got little kid saddles too, I forgot to mention earlier, and we'll put those over them so they feel the stirrups. So they're already prepared for the ride. And sometimes they will buck, they'll worry. Some of these horses are pretty dang athletic, and they're wired a little bit tighter. And you get that channeled, and they're going to be spectacular. If you don't get that channeled, you got a train wreck. So
Yes,
you gotta get it channeled early. But anyway, if we can get them soft and light and responsive from the very beginning, that's their foundation. And they keep that. If you take a horse and you go just pull, release, and I used to do that. That was what I knew. But then it's like, now I've got this horse a little bit dull. Now I got to get him sensitive. Well, let's keep him sensitive in the first place instead of getting them dull and then trying to get them sensitive. But anyway, we try to expose them to things in movement so you don't get them dull. A lot of people talk about, desensitizing a horse, and you even think of that word and you go, desensitize. Okay. That's kind of the opposite of sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that?
Sensitive is what I want. Yes, get them feely. Absolutely.
The opposite of that is dull, right?
Yes.
I don't want a dull horse. I want them to be relaxed but sensitive. I want them responsive without jumping out from under you. So can we offer that from the beginning? But if I get them dull, now I got to try to get them soft again. That just, if you expose them to things in movement, then they'll tell you the truth, how they feel about it. They won't be shutting down and then all of a sudden blow up. And I've been in the middle of that too. And I've caused that too before I knew any better. But, each of us can do the best we know. Then hopefully we'll learn more. And then offer them the best we know and then learn more.
Yes, sir. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I always ask everybody in the lightning round questions about an industry pet peeve. And one of mine is the disengaging of the hindquarters. I see people do that way too much and really cause some problems with the horses and things down the road. So what are your feelings on that? You agree with me, or am I a fool, or what?
Well, how it's done. So if you want them to be soft in the hindquarters, but so many people, we kind of, one segment of the horse industry calls them the chasers and spankers. So if you're chasing the butt, you better give that butt. You better zip that front. You're putting a lot of brace in there too. And it's all evasive. But if I'm moving a horse on a circle and I want him to step under and get soft and either turn and face and stop or get soft and then move forward again, well, I'd like to do that more from the lead rope. Give a little half halt as the inside hind's about to leave. Have it reach across and under. And you can have him to, like if I was riding him, not disengage the hind, but like downshift the transmission a little bit and then keep them moving forward again. Also, you can do an engaging step as well, stepping under and forward and then getting a little more suspension or a little bit more power in that next step. So if the foot's crossing, it's like, how's it crossing? Where are you wanting it to go? But if you're just, completely disengaging the hind and they're pivoting on the front, now you got all your weight up there. Then you got to shift the weight back and try to get the front. If you have everything balanced, then it's a flow of movement and you just redirect the movement. Tom Dorrance talked a lot about get the life in the horse, get the movement in the horse, and then redirect it. So you got to have some life in order to redirect it. So get them moving, then redirect it. I would have liked to have gotten to meet Tom and Bill Dorrance. I did never get to meet them, but I know some people that did. And I sure admired the things that they tried to offer in the time that they were on this earth. One of the things I like about every person that I've ever asked about either one of those gentlemen, I said, tell me about Tom, tell me about Bill. The first thing every single person has ever said is he was a true gentleman and he was really good with a horse. And you think, boy, what a way to be remembered there. Huh?
Absolutely.
But did that answer your question on the disengaging the hind?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I kind of like you said. I really hate when they pair the word "whoa" with it. Whoa does not mean plant all your weight on your front end, turn 90 degrees, and they really start some bad habits when they get into that stuff. And I
Yeah.
sure wish it would stop. That's it.
Well, and let's say you're on a first ride with that colt, and now you pull back on one rein there, and you're wanting the hindquarters to disengage. Well, if they throw all the weight to the front and zing the hind, the next thing they're fixing to start bucking me. Ask me how I know that. I've caused that. Well, hopefully we learn from those mistakes. But if I can get him to downshift the transmission and just keep going, slow down, relax. Now go forward and calm. Find the forward. Those first rides, boy, I would much rather they be forward than any other direction.
Yes.
And I would kind of prefer they be calm too. So if I can get that early, then I'm going to be looking for that on the first rides and on the next rides and the next rides too.
I guess I would maybe rephrase, instead of saying disengage the hind, having the reins attached to all 4 feet. Yes, I think we're in agreement there. But the way people interpret and go about doing that is where I think it gets lost in translation.
Yeah. I think the degree matters. Like some of a lot of things is good, but too much of anything is bad, So I feel like some clinicians teach that stuff, and then the people don't know what the next 5 steps are, so they go home and practice it for 6 months, and they have a train wreck on their hands the next time that they come to town because they just hammered on something that they should have done for about 30 minutes 2 days in a row and then moved on. So,
yeah. But and any time that you're moving the hind end, are you getting them out of balance? Are you getting them in balance? So if I'm getting them out of balance, I'm not doing them any good. I'm not doing me any good either. If I'm getting them in balance, now we can really go somewhere.
well, I don't want to get too caught up in the conversation that I forget to pay the bills here. So I feel like I need to jump on our sponsor real quick. And this is a returning sponsor. I saw that you had a background in feedlot cattle and all, and so I figured I needed to reach out to these folks. So our sponsor today is the Greater Midwest Cricket Council and Jiminy's Cricket Ranch. When you think about ranching, you probably have pictures in your head of green fields dotted with cattle, sheep, or goats. Maybe there's a cowboy on a horse idling along with the herd. We're here to change that picture. Cricket ranching is the wave of the future. Crickets are a sustainable protein source that contain more protein, iron, vitamins, and fiber than beef by weight. Cricket protein is also considered a complete protein because it contains all 9 essential amino acids, including branched chain amino acids like leucine, which are important for muscle growth and strengthening. Crickets are also a good source of trace minerals like zinc, copper, and manganese. Did you know that this is actually true too. Did you know that for every quarter cup of cornmeal, the FDA allows an average of 1 or more whole insects, 2 or more rodent hairs, and 50 or more insect fragments, or 1 or more fragments of rodent dung? Asparagus can contain 40 or more scary-looking but teensy thrips for every quarter pound. You have been eating insects for years and didn't even know it. It's time to end animal and industrial agriculture as we know it and embrace the insects with all of their arms and antennae. Why waste your time, energy, and other resources trying to catch the fish when you could just eat the bait? Jiminy's Cricket Farm and the Greater Midwest Cricket Council invite you to try some at our new restaurant opening soon in Kansas, Chirps. Okay.
All right.
We've paid the bills now. So.
Now, I think cricket ranching would be kind of difficult from horseback.
I think you might have something there. Yes, sir.
And branding them. How are they going to brand them? Do they rope and drag them to the fire? Do they run them into a chute?
I'm thinking tiny lasers. Yeah, like a little pin or something like that. You could just.
That goes back to your Jedi question, doesn't it? With your little Jedi night sword, you could do that. Okay.
And then maybe you got to be real careful how you walk around them too, because you don't want to, squish all the profits out of the herd there. So
True.
well, why don't we segue on to your clinics and the sorts of things that you go over when you're on the road doing clinics? So we'll shift from babies to ladies with 8-year-olds, I guess. And so what does that more look like for you?
Well, in my clinics, I'll have a max of 15 people per clinic. I like to have it small enough where everybody gets personal attention. As everybody there, to me, is the most important person. They're the most important person to them. And so therefore, they're the most important person to me too. Without each one of them, I'm not going to be able to help folks by traveling and helping horses on the back end. So each person's very important. And so I try to give them individual attention as well as the group attention. So whenever I come to a facility and we've got the first day of the clinic, it's take your horse and warm them up the way you normally do. Let me watch what you do. I like to be there when they pull up and unload too, because I know probably more about them than they want me to. Whenever they get off the trailer and then lead them to the stall or lead them to the turnout pen and then to the stall. But they'll tell me what they feel like is important to them as well. And so I'll hear that, but I'm watching the horse and I'm listening to the horse too. But in the warm-up part, I'll say, y'all warm up your horses like you normally do. And I'm scanning the whole arena to see where are the holes in the foundation of the horses and the foundation of the people too. And then I'll see, is there something that's pretty urgent pressing? Is this fixing to get dangerous? I'll take that horse right now and see if we can clean that up. And then we might say, okay, here's what I'm going to do with this horse first. Let's everybody try that. And so we'll have everybody doing the same exercise, more or less, and depending on each person's skills, how much I'm going to ask of them. But I'm looking to see where are the holes, and I'll work to fill those holes in a little bit, both the horses and the people. And then we'll move to something else where the next bound of holes. And of course, if there's something dangerous, I'll address that real quick to try to keep anyone from getting hurt. But I'll have a variety of exercises that I will probably use. There'll be some circling, some weaving. A lot of times I'll set cones out, and how accurate can they be leading the horse? Can you send them to the other side of the cone, then back? Or can you change sides of the cone from the horse? So you and your horse start out here, and then you come like this, or do you lose your momentum when you do that? So there's different accuracy things that I'm looking for. How do you lead your horse? How do they respond? How do they move their hindquarters? How are they heavy on the front? What's the rhythm of the horse when they're moving? And anyway, then I'm thinking about their ride. I'm thinking, okay, I already know how this horse is going to ride. Can we clean this up before we get to the ride?
So I have to ask, this is bugging me, but I work with a lot of people too, and I'm envisioning your exercise of the person and the horse crossing. So they're having a shift. How many people have you had just get tripped up and fall down doing that? Because I know it has to have been some.
I haven't had any fall down there. So I've had some people get tripped up and almost fall down, but I'll try to be careful. If I'm asking of who, sometimes folks are not able to get around too good. And so I'll say, you don't have to do this. But sometimes you'll kind of go, I can't, I have 2 left feet and they're on the ends of my hands, but you find out a little bit about their coordination. How's their rein management? So how you handle the lead rope, probably about how you're going to handle the reins. So I'm trying to pay attention to those details before we get to the riding part. The morning class is usually mostly groundwork, and the afternoon is all riding. So we call it our advancing class. We take each person from where they are and try to help them advance. It's not you have to do this, 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 and this, but we'll have everybody doing a lot of times the same exercise, but being more particular with those who are more skilled, and I'll work them that way. There's a lot more leeway on someone with a green horse or a green rider, or but anyway, I'll do a little bit of an exercise, then I'll change to another exercise, then to another, then I'll blend those exercises. So it's not just a series of exercises. There's always forward in it. There's always a segue to the next. So if I have a circle, then walk past that horse's tail. Let's watch and see how he unwinds. So walk past his tail, but keep going on a straight line. Watch how the horse unwinds and then moves forward with you. It's not, shut the hindquarters off. Don't chase the hindquarters and get them disengaging. Can they get soft and round and then move forward? Do they stay balanced? Or are they heavy here, heavy there? Now we got to clean that up. So we're trying to find where are the holes in the foundation, and then how can we help them get cleaned up in a manner that's going to be relative to the ride. If my groundwork is not relating to the ride, why am I offering that groundwork? So to me, it needs to be relative to the ride. Now, if a person's not going to ride their horse, if it's a cart horse, or if it's going to be a therapy horse, or there's different reasons that a person would not be riding, well, I'll gear towards that end goal that they're looking for. It's not, I don't come with a set agenda and say, we're going to do this and this and this, because that's what I like to do. And so we're all going to do that. And there's more than one right way to do anything. So let's see where we can get going. Did that make sense?
Yes, sir. It kind of brings me to another question for you. We kind of, a lot of us that are in the horse business kind of, maybe we're not really people. We kind of like working with animals over here by ourselves and the quiet of the day. And then you throw a bunch of people in there. And so you definitely do have trainers that are really good horsemen, but they're maybe not real good teachers. And then you've got, kind of the opposite. So where would you put yourself in that mix? Are you a horseman that works with people, or a people person that works with horses?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. I know that on your lightning rounds, I've watched a couple of your deals, and one of them was tell me something that most people don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way more shy than people realize. Very shy. But yes. I have to be able to talk to people. So they think I'm not shy, but I'm very shy. But a lot of us are familiar with Ray Hunt. And Ray would say, I don't care about you people. I care about the horse. That's why I'm here. Okay. I care about the horse a lot, but also care about the person, because who is this horse going home with? He's not going home with me. I care about that person too. And I better offer them something that I can help them have some success with this horse. So I care a lot about the people. I care a lot about the horses. So I don't really know how to answer your question there. I would say I'm a person that loves horses and likes people a whole lot. So each person's important to me. And I want to make sure that they feel like they were the most important person there.
And I think at the clinics, people find that he's very approachable.
Yeah.
He's available, early in the morning if he's out doing chores and you want to go ask questions. And during lunch, he has lunch with everybody. He goes out to dinner with everybody. In the evening, he might be there still working horses with people. He's just always available. It's not just 9 to 5 and then leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
I figure those folks at the clinic, they spent some money to get there, and then they spent some money on the clinic. They took time off work, so I'm going to be there for them the whole time that I'm there. Till the time I pull out, I'm available. I got to sleep some, but the latest I've stayed up working a trailer loading deal was 11:30 at night. But I'm available. I'm not going to say, clinic's over, see you tomorrow. I need my downtime. I get my downtime when I'm driving to the next spot. So,
and sometimes, let's say the groundwork part. Somebody will say, okay, I have difficulties with trailer loading. So he'll pick pieces of groundwork that will build to that. And then he'll say, okay, during lunch today, have your trailer hooked up. We're going to go out there during lunch. And so instead of taking time away from everybody else in the class, it's like, this is your special thing that you need help with. Okay, here's your time slot. We're going to spend time together away from the class time, and you need help with, okay, then we're going to spend time over, right after class before we leave to supper. For you, we'll get it after we get back from supper. And so, he.
Yeah. But I will be available there. I don't think anybody cares more about each person there than I do. Each one is very important. And some people we become pretty good friends with. Some people we never see again. But I still think about them a lot. It's like, okay, how did you get to? How was your horse? How, you come back, you got the same issue going. All right, this is what I offered you last time. Let me try a different way. I try to remember, what did we go over? And okay, let me tweak something to try to help you more. When I'm driving, I'm thinking about the clinic. I'll go over each person, each horse. Right, where did they start? Where did they get to? What seemed to make the most sense? What did not? Okay, how should I approach that differently to help this person? Whether it was a different analogy or what. And I know, and as well, that at first when people meet you, they tell you what they think you want to hear. But then whenever they're talking to the other people in the clinic, they'll tell them what's really important to them. So I like it when we all go out to eat, because I'm eavesdropping on the whole table, because they're telling each other what's really important to them. It's like, oh, you got grandkids. I'll use grandkid analogies with you. That'll make more sense. Or you do this for a living. I know some analogies that'll fit in there. Oh, this is important to you. Got it. Okay. We'll touch on those things so I can talk to them in a way that they really hear what I'm saying, instead of just talking at them. Now I'm trying to talk in a language that maybe they understand more. So
let me ask you a little bit about that, because this is one of these topics that has come up for me just a bunch of times in the last couple of months. And it kind of deals with some of the air quotes rules of riding and things like that. So the specific one I'll use is about like crossing the neck with your inside rein. I find a lot of people have a horse that's got a stuck shoulder, and sometimes, just like with people, if you exaggerate a little bit more, you kind of tailor the message to this person, then they get it, and now you have them flowing that way, and then you can kind of get back in the box. And there are some people that would just be mortified if they see you cross the neck with that inside rein. And I'm a firm believer in that saying of traditions is peer pressure from dead people, So if I cross the neck a few times and now the horse moves his shoulder in all the way I want, and then I don't have to do it anymore, I think I did a good thing. I don't lose any sleep over that whatsoever. So what do you think?
If you got the desired result, and then you can go back to more finesse.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And each person's going to ride different too. And it takes a lot of work to be a really good finesse rider. And frankly, there's a whole lot of people not willing to put that work in. It takes time, it takes study, it takes focus, it takes being connected, paying attention to be present with the horse. And so also to know where your hands are. Where are your legs? What are your thighs doing? What are your knees doing? What are your seat bones doing? Where's your weight? What are your abs doing? Are you tightening your abs? Are you slouching? There's so many pieces to it, and you could take that as deep as you want to go. But sometimes people can't use their hips or their legs too good, and so they have to do a little bit more with their hands. Or sometimes, you can do a lot less with your body, and your hands don't hardly move. But to try to tailor a request that's going to suit that person and that horse. How do you get that done? But the rules, I think the rules are flexible. They're not just as rigid as a lot of people say, to me anyway. So I'm in agreement with you on that. And,
Are you familiar with Mark Lyon at all?
I don't know Mark Lyon, no.
Well, he's got a saying I borrow from him. It's that rules are for the strict adherence of fools and small children, and general guidelines for the rest of us.
That's all right. Yeah, that, with rules and guidelines and stuff, I think about more, I want to make sure the door's open where I'm asking the horse to go. Have I got that door open or is it closed? And that's whether I'm riding or on the ground. There's a lot of people that'll say, well, exaggerate to teach, right? Well, why not start with finesse? Start refined and see how that works. You might surprise yourself. And so I try to offer the best quality that I can offer from the very beginning. Doesn't matter if it's a beginner rider or a real finished rider. How little can we do, but be clear? But is the door open where I'm asking this horse to go? If it's not, what part of me is blocking it? So what do I need to change to open that door more? Whether it's opening my knee, or a lot of times I see it in people that are circling the horse on the ground. They do a great big exaggerated lead with the lead rope. And then why is my horse pushing on me with his shoulder? Because I asked him to. As soon as my hand crossed here, I'm drawing him right onto me. If I push on the eye a little bit and help him find there's place to go, there's the open door. Oh, the circle's there, easy. Instead of trying to make him go on the circle, let the circle be available. Can I make sure that door's open? Can I make the right thing to be obvious rather than trying to focus on making the wrong thing difficult? So easier is gooder is one of my mottos of life. So if I make it easier for the horse, then it's gooder for everybody. If he understands it, he can do it. And, a lot of times people, they're wanting to always give voice commands to their horse, and they can learn some voice commands, but you got to be real consistent. And sometimes I'll say, okay, you're kind of confusing your horse a little bit. So I'm going to give you some very clear instructions, and I would like for you to do them. Okay. So I'll give you very clear instruction. Let's see how you do with it. Marawika, nasa si katavan.
I got nothing. No clue. Yes.
So maybe I should yell at you. Would that help?
I think louder. Yeah, I would be more used to that. I have a redheaded wife, so that would make me feel more at home for sure. Yes.
Make you feel at home. Well, if I yell at you and smack you, would that help?
Again, it would make me feel at home, but I'd still be clueless.
Yeah. Or maybe I open the door a little bit better. But if the horse does not understand what I'm saying, whether whatever I'm doing with my hands, my supporting tool, my riding, my legs, my reins, if he doesn't understand, maybe I change my presentation a little bit. Okay, so I'll change my presentation since you didn't catch on that too good. And I'll say the exact same words. Hi, I feel very welcome, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, I'm glad.
So you don't speak Comanche?
No, sir.
Okay, so we'll go to English. The horse doesn't understand English, and a lot of times they don't understand big, obnoxious whacking and stuff, especially if the door's closed. They don't understand it. Change your presentation. But a lot of times I'll put people in the horse's shoes by giving them instructions they can't understand. And then I'll say, okay, now let's try this then. I haven't found anybody who's very fluent in Comanche. So I feel pretty safe using that analogy. So,
Yes, sir.
but anyway.
So maybe if you're not catching fish, it's not the fish's fault. You should change the bait, something like that.
Maybe, or even try to find a better spot. Maybe where the fish are. It's just where you throw in your hook and put it somewhere else. But yeah, it's okay to change a little bit and try something just a little bit different. If I can make it easier for the horse to understand, cool. If I can make it easier for the person to understand as well. We don't always speak the same, have the same terminology. How can I change to fit them rather than ask them to change to fit me? So
Absolutely.
I try real hard to make that work. So
just as a total aside here, I've got a hunch on another business opportunity for you. If you came with an app that was just you talking or maybe reading Bible verses or something, like your voice it would put people to sleep, just like you put this on at night, 15 minutes of Brent Graef and you were just snoring and sawing logs, and not that you're boring. That's not what I mean. You just have a very, calming, soothing sort of demeanor, which I'm sure the horses appreciate as well. Just a thought.
Well, we keep that in mind, but being shy, I really don't like to talk as much as people think I like to talk either. But
well, this is, see, you record it once and then it's just out there in the ether. You don't have to, they're just listening to day 117 of Brentisms or whatever it winds up being.
Go to sleep already. Go to sleep already. Not that being calm. I try to exude calm with the horses, and with the people too. To try to help them to, especially people when they first come to a clinic, they're nervous. They don't know especially if they don't know me. Am I one of those guys that's going to yell at them or try to embarrass them in front of everybody and all that? And it's like, no, I'm not. And, I'm not going to make fun of anybody. I will try to help them feel comfortable and relaxed, but the horses too. I think the more centered a person is, the easier everything is. So I try to stay in a place of peace and just as level as I can be. So that I try to make that a way of life, and apparently I put people to sleep with it.
Apparently you do.
Okay.
But it's funny, when we first started dating, when you first start dating, you're like, okay, he's on his best behavior. He's not really like this all the time. And here now we've been married 20 years and he's like that all the time. He's always on his best. Your mama did a good job with you.
Yes, she did.
So, I was actually going to ask that. So if he is this shy and everything, how did he approach you and ask you out? Did he have to take like 5 runs at it before he got it out, or how did that work out? Or did you just say, he's never going to ask me out, I'm going to you need to meet me at Sonic on Friday at 5:00 or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was an email. I don't know.
Yeah, I was pretty scared. Yeah. But no, I try to stay in a good, calm place. I think that is real beneficial. But I had a very interesting compliment this past year. There was a guy that he had been to several other clinics watching, and he traveled through, and we let him overnight at our place, and he goes, "Okay, I've seen you at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clinics. I've seen you out at supper with the group. I've seen you at supper with just you and me and the clinic host. I've seen you working your horses when nobody's around. It doesn't matter if you're at home or in the middle of the clinic or after the clinic or nobody's around, you're always the same. You're not putting on a show." I said, "Well, yeah." He goes, I know a lot of people that it's a show. So that would not be me. I'm not very charismatic and not very eloquent. And okay, but this is me, and you'll always see me. This is me exhausted. Well, I'll still be me. This is me. Sometimes people might think I'm getting just a little bit hyperactive whenever I'm at the last clinic. The next home stretch is getting back home to Kris. I've been gone for 2 months. I might be a little hyperactive then, a little bit antsy. But you'll always see me. I'll do my best. But anyway, but that when he said that, he said, oh, I thought that's a nice compliment, because that is, I'm just me. That's it. You don't see a show.
Yes. There definitely are some people in this business that are not the same all the time. I'll just say that. So.
True. And there's some folks that if there's a crowd of one or more, they're playing to the crowd. And, that's, everybody's got a different makeup. And, there's some folks have a ton of charisma and showmanship, and they generate a lot of excitement. Can you look through just the charisma and the show and the excitement and see, is there substance there? And a lot of times people will say, well, who should I ride with? I'm like, well, you'll have to determine that for yourself. But my advice to them is to go and watch someone first. I said, but as you're watch them through different sets of eyes. As you're watching them, how does this person talk to the students? Do you want to be talked to like that? How does this person handle the students' horses? Would you want your horse to be handled like that? How is this person handle his horse? What's his horse or her horse? What is that horse's expression? Would you want your best going horse to act like that? How is this person treating other people or treating horses when he thinks nobody is watching? Look at it from those point of views, and then you decide if you want to ride with that person or not. So it's not for me to tell you who you should ride with. You go watch and see what appeals to you, but look through different sets of eyes. Try to figure out the difference between charisma and show and horsemanship. That.
Yes.
And peoplemanship too. How do you want to be talked to? How do you want to be treated? So anyway, but that's one of those deals, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's different flavors of ice cream, right? Like some people like Rocky Road, and some people like vanilla. So yeah, but I'm a big believer in the critical thinking aspect. I kind of want people to come to clinics that are thinking. They're not gonna. I do a lot of sarcasm just to make sure that you got your filter turned on and you're paying attention and you're not just taking literal everything I say. So keep it thinking a little bit.
Well, you want them to enjoy the time as well, but you don't want to just be telling stories the whole time. It's like, let's move with the horse. We'll tell stories at supper. Sometimes there's a story that is very pertinent to what's happening in the arena, and so we make a point of that. But most times it's like, let's get our visiting done at supper. Let's get our riding done now. Let's go.
Yes.
But you got to figure out people's stamina too.
Well, I do want to be respectful of y'all's time, and I know it's getting kind of late this evening and everything. We will have links, of course, in the show notes to your website and social media and all of those things. Is there anything that you want to tell us about that y'all have going on or coming up or anything like that before we let them go?
Well, all our yearling classes are full for 2026. Those classes fill a year out. So if anyone is interested in participating in one of those classes, you might contact us now for 2027. So, because those classes will be filling really quickly.
Yeah,
And-
send an email and we keep a wait list and we'll contact people when we've got more classes opening up.
Right. But we'll usually have 7 people in the class, 7 horses. So that's your horse for the week. And you name him, you better get attached to him, because if you're not giving everything of yourself, he won't give everything either. So you got to really open up to him, and you might find out more about yourself than you realized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just only about halter starting colts, but
Yep.
what can we learn from those colts? The horses are teaching me. I'm not teaching the horse. But then the horsemanship clinics, we've still got openings this
Coming year.
Coming year, starting off mid-August through the middle of October is when our driving clinics are. So we welcome any breeds and disciplines. And doesn't matter how old or young. We've had people ride from age 8 to 86. So all we ask is that you come with an open mind and try hard.
Well, that sounds good. And unlike my ad for the Greater Midwest Cricket Council selling out a year ahead, it's a very good way of going about it. So
It is.
congratulations on that.
It's nice to be booked, and we just keep doing our best. And a lot of times people ask me, well, are you thinking about retiring anytime soon from the clinics and such? And I tell them, well, if it ever gets to where it's not fun, that's when I'll stop. If it ever gets to where I don't feel like I'm helping people and helping horses, that's when I'll stop. But
I was going to ask you if that was a decrease. That's not. I'm sure you could be on the road a lot more if you wanted to. So is the August to October window, is that a newer thing? You used to be on the road more, and Miss Kris said, "No, it's about time you were home," or what?
No, when I first started out doing clinics, so I was a single dad and I had custody, and so we worked out our custody agreement to where Will was with me during the school year, and then with his mom in the summer. So I would do the clinics in the summer, and I'd be home with him in the school year, and I was still starting colts. And so that's how I worked that. And I always figured, well, when Will got out of high school, I'll do more clinics. But then I started seeing people that had been teaching as long as I have, being real burned out and hating it. I thought, I'll just add more colts. And so I'm not going to add more clinics, because the colts balance the clinics. Clinics balance the colts. I don't think I would ever get tired of working with young horses, but they balance the clinics out, so I can help a lot of horses on the front end, and then a good handful of horses on the back end too. So I thought it would be one of those deals where I would do a whole lot more clinics, but I thought, no, every day is still like Christmas. So I want to keep it that way. So
Yes, sir.
If there's a balance to life, then we're good. And that's a good balance. So anyway, I kind of rambled on that answer, but sorry.
No, I understand. I'm like you. I'm pretty strongly introverted, and I can talk to the people, but like the day after the clinic when I'm driving, I don't want to hear the sound of a human voice.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta re-energize and decompress now. And so this coming year will be the most clinics I've ever done. I'll have a couple of stretches where I'm 2 and 3 months, and then 2 and 3 months, and so I am a little concerned with how I'm going to handle that, if it's going to be too much and I'm going to get burned out or
Right.
what. But we'll see. So
Yeah, find that balance, and all the best to you on that. And
yeah,
and
my wife will be with me for most of it, so that'll help a little bit too. We won't have separation, and all of that. I'm sure that adds to the stress. So
right, yeah. Kris used to get to travel with me on the clinics, but we started getting horses that were a little bit older, needed some extra care. So I had a really nice deal worked out with I won't say next door neighbor because there's a little ways to my next neighbor, but he watched pasture calves. And so he'd drive past our place 5-6 times a day. And so he'd look in on the horses, make sure there was hay, check the water. And, he knew horses. But then as we started getting horses up closer to 30 and 30 plus, then it was like, that's a little too much to ask to do the extra special care on those other horses. So, and subdivisions started moving in. So his pastures were kind of swallowed up. So anyway, it worked out to where Kris needs to stay home. And, it's, you hate to see the horses get old, but that's part of life too. We just had to say goodbye this past year to the 2 best horses I ever rode. And one of them is who I've learned more from than any human. He was my best teacher. He was 36 whenever we had to say goodbye to him. And he still, right up until 3 months before we had to say goodbye to him, he was still wanting to work with the yearlings. Whenever we'd have colts in, he'd come over and he'd be kind of prancing a little bit. Let me in there. Let me settle that pin. And he was magnificent. But
I'm sure.
Then whenever we'd say, hey, you want to come in, Cayman? And he's like, no, I'm good. I thought, oh, time's coming now. But anyway, as the horses got older and needed more care, so Kris has to stay home. And anyway, so it was always a lot more fun when she was able to travel with me. We'd stay up half the night talking about each person and each horse. What did you see when my back was turned? What did I miss? What another set of eyes is always nice. But anyway, now I just have to have eyes in the back of my head. So
Well, keep the Comanche theme rolling, right? So
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, you bet. That I've got a strong Comanche heritage, and we had a deal. The local museum, we've got a real nice museum in our town, and they had contacted me about helping them with a horse project, and they wanted to do how was the impact of the horse to the people of the plains, starting with the natives to the early ranchers and farmers to the current ranchers and current show people and backyarders. And so they'd asked a good friend of mine who's on the council of the Comanche Nation, to get his input. And he said, you really need to talk to Brent because he knows our culture, but he also knows horses. And she said, everybody knows that the Comanche were among the best horsemen ever. How did they master the horse? I said, well, they didn't master the horse. They became one with the horse. The horses were our brothers and our sisters. She goes, that's the same thing Benny said. I said, well, it's because that's the way it was. And that's the way it still is. So I try to look at them that way. That's my brothers. That's my sisters. Can I become one with them as much as I can and try to understand them, not just only try to make them understand me? But anyway, it's
yes, sir. Well, very good.
I can't imagine anything more fun to do. So I appreciate you reaching out to us and having us on. And
well, I definitely appreciate your time. It's been a very nice conversation to have, and I hope our paths cross somewhere down the road and get to ride together, work some horses or something. I think that would be a very relaxing experience.
That'd be fun. I'd look forward to that. If you're ever in the Amarillo area, you give us a holler.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I've been your host, Daniel Dolphin.